Hello, my name is Charles Ormbsby. I'm a two-term member of the North Andover School Committee and a board member of a charter school and an adjunct professor of mathematics at the University of Massachusetts in Lowell. I'd like to spend a few minutes of your time to discuss question 1, the ballot question that seeks to end the income tax in Massachusetts. I want to explain why a yes vote is best for your economic well-being and is best for the economic well-being of your neighbors and for the state as a whole. I want to explain why a no vote is reckless and wasteful and only serves the privileged public employee unions and special interests who are spending millions of dollars to scare you in an attempt to maintain their special privileges. I hope you will find this presentation informative and that you will vote yes on question 1 on November 4th. And now the rest of the story. Why you should vote yes on question 1 and end the Massachusetts state income tax. This presentation is built around 3 stories, each of which provides important insights that support a yes vote on question 1. The first story of a car shopping trip I took with my 6-year-old granddaughter illustrates an important lesson to keep in mind as you listen to the flood of political advertisements about question 1. The second story, first told in the 19th century, illustrates an important economic fallacy that is exploited over and over again by those who want to continue the high tax levels in Massachusetts. It is called the broken window fallacy. Finally, we will examine the core facts surrounding government spending in Massachusetts and determine objectively if the state income tax can be eliminated while protecting essential services. So let's get started. Recently, I embarked on a shopping trip with my 5-year-old granddaughter to purchase a new car. First, we visited a Ford dealership and met a very nice salesperson. I asked him, "What brand of car do you think I should buy?" He looked at me very seriously and said, "I think a Ford would be best for you." Next, we went to a Honda dealership, and I asked the same question. The sales lady responded, "A Honda would clearly best fit your needs." At this point, my granddaughter gave me a funny look, but I just ignored her. Finally, we drove to a Hummer dealer, and just to be even-handed, I asked the same question. The sales manager, wearing a very nice suit, said, "If you don't buy a Hummer, you will be sacrificing your family's future. In fact," he said, "if you buy one of those Fords or Hondas, that would be downright reckless and irresponsible." On the way back to my car, my granddaughter kicked me in the shins and said, "Grandpa, wise up. Don't you know that they are just thinking of themselves? They don't care about us. We need to think for ourselves." I think she has a point there. So what did we learn? Our first lesson is that if only those with a conflict of interest support a certain position, we should be very skeptical. So who is funding the opposition to question 1? 99.8% of campaign contributions to the Vote No campaign are from special interest groups. Almost no contributions, less than 0.1%, are from individual contributors. Let's look at the top 10 contributors to the Vote No campaign. The Massachusetts Teachers Association, over $1.5 million. The National Education Association, $1.5 million. The Service Employees International Union, $605,000. The American Federation of Teachers, $350,000. The Boston Teachers Union, $150,000. The American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, $120,000. And the list goes on. Huge contributions making up essentially all of the opposition's war chest. These organizations are like the Ford salesman. They are looking out for themselves, not for you. The Vote Yes campaign contribution statistics are exactly reversed. 99.8% are from individuals and small contributors. Approximately $400,000 total has been collected from approximately 1,600 contributions. In contrast, the top 10 contributors on the Vote No side contributed nearly $4.5 million. So do you just think you should accept their advice? Well, buying a Ford just because the Ford salesman said to buy a Ford would be really dumb. Voting no on question 1 just because the public employee union said to vote no would be, you guessed it, dumb, dumb, dumb. That brings us to our second story, the tale of the broken window, which examines if breaking a window can lead to economic growth. The story starts out with a hoodlum who runs up to a baker's shop and throws a rock through the baker's plate glass window. A crowd quickly gathers to discuss the implications of this event. Soon someone remarks, you know, this is actually a very good thing, because the baker will now spend $1,000 with the glazier to repair his window, which will give the glazier $1,000 to spend at the tailor, who in turn can spend $1,000 at the furniture maker's shop, and on, creating a continuing chain of economic activity. The hoodlum didn't do something bad. He actually helped stimulate economic growth. Of course, this logic must be faulty. But why? The answer is simple. If the window had not been broken, the baker could have spent his $1,000 on a boat. The boat maker could have then spent the $1,000 on new suits. The tailor could have taken $1,000 to the furniture maker, etc. A similar chain of business activity would have occurred, except for one crucial difference. If the window had not been broken, the baker would have a boat that is now lost due to the destruction of the window. This is called the fallacy of overlooking secondary consequences, or overlooking the alternative. So how does this apply to question 1? What is the overlooked alternative when question 1, an elimination of the income tax, is discussed? When tax reductions are suggested, all you hear about is losing the most essential government services. Of course, never the least important services or cutting waste. But you never hear about the services and products that would be created if those tax revenues are left in the private sector. So what difference does it make if a dollar is spent by the government or in the private sector? Let's look at the big picture. Currently, $47 to $50 billion is spent by Massachusetts state government. With this considerable sum of money, our government does provide valuable essential services. But efficiency is not rewarded, special interests are served first, and waste and abuse is rampant. But as we just learned, we must consider the alternative. For question 1, the alternative is to let the state government continue to spend $35 to $38 billion and leave $12 billion in the private sector, where the rightful owners of that $12 billion make the spending decisions. The private productive economy booms, business and job opportunities expand, and investments by outside companies in Massachusetts are encouraged. In the private economy, market forces ensure that poor decisions are punished and good decisions are rewarded. Let's briefly explore why the private sector is vastly more efficient than the public sector in producing the goods and services we need. Consider the motivating factors in the private sector that encourage efficiency. In the private sector, there are many motivators for efficiency. Consider the workers or the employees. There are plenty. If you work hard, you'll get a job. You'll get raises. You'll get promotions. If you goof off, you'll have low pay, you'll get fired, and you may become unemployed. Likewise, there are plenty for businesses. If you're efficient and competitive, you'll make profits and you'll expand your business. If you're inefficient and non-competitive, you'll have low profits and you potentially will become bankrupt. The government sector doesn't have those same efficiency motivators. Look at public employees. They have few motivators. They have guaranteed job security. They refuse to allow merit evaluations or merit pay, and they have fixed pay scales. Government agencies themselves have no motivation. Agencies are rarely eliminated, and there's no objective standard for efficiency.